than those other displays. So you need more pixel density in order for it to reach Retina levels where you can't make out the individual pixels. I do understand the design limitations at play here though. It's not like the Iris Pro graphics were gonna be able to drive anything higher than an HD panel anyway, and playing at a lower but still native resolution is definitely better the alternative. Truthfully, I'd have done it exactly the same way. I just felt that it was a little disingenuous to make the comparisons that they did. Some more good news though is that I absolutely love the built-in controller. As we've seen on previous GPD products, there's a rocker on the side that toggles the controller between mouse mode, with the shoulder buttons acting as left and right click, and gamepad mode, which uses standard X input, meaning that it usually requires no configuration to just work. This is far and away their best effort so far. The ABXY buttons are delightfully clicky, but not loud. The D-pad is the best I've seen on anything that isn't a dedicated game controller, and the analog sticks, they might take up a ton of space internally that might have been great to use for battery, but they were totally worth it. The tension on them is just right, the plastic ribbing on the top is the perfect balance of control and durability, and I got no annoying dead zones, putting me in perfect control all the time. If I had to complain about the gamepad, I would say the shoulder buttons are a little light for my taste. The intake fan on the bottom actually makes my fingers cold when I'm playing, if I'm not wearing a warm hoodie from LTTstore.com, that is. The WinMax itself is heavy enough that you pretty much have to rest it on something if you're playing for more than about 15 minutes. Back to the marketing though. My final beef is this. While it is true that PlayStation 3 emulation is possible with the WinMax, you're gonna be limited to the much lighter games from that console, and the Xbox 360 for that matter, if you want frame rates of 30 FPS or more. Now I did technically run some heavier games. This is BioShock 2, for example. But as you can see, the experience was not great. One way around this would be to use the Thunderbolt 3 port on the back to hook up an external GPU. That is super cool. Like Thunderbolt 3 in this thing? Dang, like I've long been a Thunderbolt 3 graphics card enthusiast, but all the compact Thunderbolt 3 graphics cards that I'm aware of either never made it to market or have gone extinct, meaning that if you want to do that, you're stuck tethered to a big old brick that's plugged into the wall. At that point, I mean, why wouldn't I just use a normal controller and play on the larger display of my real laptop or TV or something? But Linus, you might say. Maybe the WinMax is your only computer. You use it as a handheld on the go, and you dock it at home. You simply must have a solution to this problem. Given the luxury pricing of both the WinMax and an eGPU, I find that scenario pretty hard to swallow. But at least, hey, the option is there if you're into it, and performance is shockingly good. The WinMax's open airflow bottom might give it a bit more flex than I'd like, and it can get pretty loud. But it allows the dual fan cooler to breathe extremely well and kept the CPU in the high 60s to low 70s throughout my testing. All of which was done again at max TDP. I bet a Mac water cooling for that. We should test that. Get subscribed to see it. Just make sure too though, that a webcam, yeah, it took me a while to realize it's missing one, and a separate keyboard is part of your docking solution if you wanna go that route. I really wanted to like the keyboard and the touchpad. They included dedicated F keys, which I appreciated, and it's pretty neat how in controller mode, you can kind of thumb the trackpad around. But the arrow keys are terrible. This caps lock should absolutely be tab, and it's just too cramped to really game comfortably on. Not to mention that I can type faster on my phone than I can type on this thing. That's really the final nail in the, I'm gonna make this my only computer pipe dream for me. I see the WinMax as a second, or maybe even a third PC, but that does not mean that I don't like it. This is a really cool device. Once they sort out those stability issues that prevented me from even testing battery life, I'd expect 10 hours or maybe more in our light office benchmark, which is pretty darn good considering the 57 watt-hour battery. That's 10 nanometer for you. Like anything though, it's full of sacrifices and it lacks the kind of polish that you might expect from the likes of Dell if that weird Alienware Nintendo Switch thing ever comes to market. But bottom line, if you're the kind of person who was already salivating over the prospect of a handheld emulation monster, and you were just waiting for me to say, yep, it pretty much does what they said it would do, then go now. Just buy it. This is without a doubt one of the coolest PCs on the market, and it may be a long time before something this unique comes along again. You know what else might not come along again anytime soon? A segue this smooth. Private internet access lets you mask your